Hi, hello, g'day, kia ora, welcome to the studio. I'm Paula from MoxyMojo. Thank you for joining me here in the studio for an afternoon of creativity, inspiration, and hopefully a whole lot of fun. I get bored really easily. There, I've said it. Over time, I've worked out that what I need is some kind of constraint to motivate me and bring out my best. Now, I'm not talking about physical constraints. I don't need to be tied down to my chair, but more that I need restrictions limiting what I can do and how I can do it, or what I can use, for instance. Even how long I have to create is a great motivator for me, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. Sure, I can create just for the sake of being creative without time pressures, restrictions on what products I can use, or having to follow a prompt list. I think that limiting my options improves the end results of my being creative. It ups my moxie and my mojo. Bearing in mind some of the time-bound events that currently exist within our community, I've come up with a list of monthly events or themes that I'm going to focus on to provide me with a boundary within which to create. If you're interested in knowing my list of monthly events for the year, then let me know below in the comments. Otherwise, you can enjoy a surprise each month as it reveals itself in time. For now, we're going to get started on this month's events, albeit a little bit late, but better late than never. So, welcome to Messy Makes March. This month is all about pulling out the wet and the messy products in your stash and just having fun. Making pieces that we can use in our crafting. Build up your stash of bits and pieces to use on your decorative bases when you're making your journals and ephemera to be added to your journals. So, starting off, I thought I would finally, I might add, try not just tea and coffee dyeing, because I've done that before, but tea and coffee dyeing using stencils. Now, I know a lot of people have done this, and I'm certainly not the first one to try it, but it's the first time I've tried it. And if I tip this bundle up sideways, I've done quite a bit of it. Now, it's just started into autumn here in New Zealand, so we've still got a little bit of warm weather, still some summer days or summer temperatures and plenty of sunlight. So I've been trying my coffee dyeing out on my deck instead of having to use my oven. The problem is that my deck doesn't get any wind. It's like my studio is here and our deck is in here or out here, but it's sheltered on these two sides by building. So there's no wind flow through there, which is good because it means that my papers don't blow away. Well, in theory they shouldn't. But what that means is that the sun's coming in from this side and the heat just traps in there and it gets really hot really fast. And even with a sun umbrella up, it still can get too hot, be to the point of being unbearable. But nevertheless, I have braved the heat. And so this is the results of my tea and coffee dyeing, or most of the results. So I thought I would just run through them, try and be as quick as I can, and share with you what I've been able to do. Now this first pile here was created not actually using stencils, but masks. Now going back, this is actually a Tim Holtz mask from probably about 15 years ago. Tim brought these out very briefly. They weren't around for long. They were like sticky backed vinyls that were removable, but you could put them onto paper and then spray, and you would get the image left behind. Now I dug these out from deep in my stash and thought I'd try them on the coffee dyed paper. I ended up only trying them once because I was having trouble controlling the stick on them. But I'm going to try them again. But this was just my first test. So very quickly showing you what they were. So I mean, that was my favourite. Absolutely loved that. We had the spider web, the central one, and then a corner one, if you could see that. There was a couple of barbed wire ones. So we've got one here and this one here, but I found that they just didn't stick down well at all, especially on the ends. Just didn't really go well. I had this was in the same set as the barbed wire, as well as this one. Excuse my voice, I don't know why it's so croaky. I love the way that this turned out. The big problem with these was that because they were clear plastic, I actually lost one on my deck for a couple of days. The wind picked up the paper, blew the paper off, blew the sticky off, and I thought it was lost for good, but I did finally manage to find it. This was actually a Heidi swap, so it was because I wanted the flames to go vertically, so I need to work on that one there. And this one was a Heidi swap as well, but I love how clear that one turned out. So now we're getting into various different stencils. Now, stencils, I can't remember all of them, but there were some from the Crafters Workshop. I used some from Prima Marketing. I used some from Deco Art. I used some from Donna Downey. I used some from like Delusions ones. That's probably the majority of them. Plus there were like some plastic placemats that I used that I'd picked up in like different home stores. So these ones were where I'd had the stencils over like a full page, and then there was also a part of the page. So I've ended up with like bits from a couple of them. And so I just wanted to keep these separate because I wasn't sure about how I was going to use these compared to where one stencil has gone over a whole page, because like some of them were completely unrelated and I wasn't sure how well they went together. Now most of these were coffee only. I haven't used any tea this round. And then, okay, so this one here, you can see I tried spraying some gold through this stencil. It didn't actually work. It just seemed to go everywhere under the stencil, even though I'd really pushed it down. So the first time I used it, I wasn't that impressed. When I then reused the stencil again, the effect was a lot better. But I love how, like, clean some of these stencil images are. But then I also love, like, all the really weird bits as well. And, like, you can see here where the stencil isn't that clear was where there might have been like a bubble or a crease because I originally did it flat on the deck and ended up injuring my back. So I'd done them flat on the deck, and I put out some cheap shower curtains. Sorry, I'll keep turning while I talk. Shower curtains, and then put the paper directly onto that. Hurt my back, so I'm now using the shower curtains on top of tables. Why I didn't think of it first, I don't know. Now here I've started to put brushos on because I wanted to see what they look like, and just like totally random sprinkling them on. I then, I've been spraying on top of the stencils with my coffee solution, then with a solution of, I've got a pan that my daughters gave me of, see, I've done multiples of some of them, of a rusty pan, and so I added some water to it, thinking that might give me rusty water. And when I soaked some stuff in it, it looked like there was no change whatsoever. But in the end, I put some of that rusty water into a spray bottle, or into the tray of coffee water, and that's what kind of gave me the really dark colours. I've been spraying on there with some coffee water, which I've been mixing up with coffee and putting in a little bit of soda, baking soda I think it is, to take away some of the alkalinity of the coffee. I love this bit, but I love this as well. I just think it looks awesome. And then, like, you can see here, this was like distress ink that was left on the stencil, because I'm really bad at cleaning my stencils. And so when I sprayed the stencil with, like, even just straight coffee, it has taken the ink that was on there and just put it onto the paper. So that was awesome. I love that. That's turned out so well. Then I've got it mixed up, you know, you've probably seen these bottles before I've got spray bottles. One's got walnut stain distress ink, and one has got ground espresso distress oxide ink, and so I just spray them randomly on whatever, and so they're also on here. So this, I think, is just stunning with the brushos. So I like sprinkled a bit of brushos over the top of the stencil, and then spray with those two bottles to see what we end up with here. Sorry, I'm just going to have a drink to see if that helps my voice a little. So sometimes the brushos dispersed really well. Sometimes they didn't. You end up with like little wee spots. And a lot of this was where the spray might have picked up individual grains of the brushos and just spread them wherever. Or as I was sprinkling out the brushos, the wind picked up some of them. Like this one I thought was like too much, but it's growing on me now. You see a lot of repeats here because, yeah, I loved these stencils so much. Love how that one turned out. I had one where it really didn't turn out, but that one turned out quite nice. And then these are ones where I just got like a little wee corner or patch of a stencil on there as well. So now this lot was where I've got only a portion of like a stencil, but no secondary stencil from anywhere else. So I mean, I thought these could go either top or bottom, either way round. They look quite cool. Well, like some of them have to go up the right way. And I love how like the brusho, this there was like I had leftover brusho on the stencil, and then it's come up and coloured some of the page further. Just looks really nice. Some of them are very light because like the stencil's lifted up. Because it's not an exact science, no matter how much you try, unless you can do this, like if you've got an indoor space where there is no breeze, then you know at times you are at the mercy of the sun and more the wind. And so yeah, that's what I was finding. Like I'd have everything laid out, even on the tables, and I had little wee stones sort of trying to hold things down. And you'll see some of those coming up where the stones have actually left marks on pages, but that's kind of added to the look of what I've been able to achieve. So here we've got somewhere we've got like bits. So this was a stencil, and this is a part of a actual plastic placemat. It's like a massive big placemat like this. And I picked it up hoping that it would work as a stencil, but I love the way that it's worked on the coffee dyeing. So now here, these are actually pieces of steel that is some offcuts from my husband's work, and they were like rubbish bits that they normally throw out, and they're little wee like round like plug hole type things, and they're probably about 10 mils, maybe 15 mils thick. So then, I mean, they're not that heavy individually, which is why I've got like multiple on there trying to hold a page down. But when you get them all in a bag, they soon become really heavy. But I really like the way they look. And the difference is depending on which way up they were, because they've got a slight curve on one side. So this was the curved side down, and these ones was the flat side down on the paper. So that was a really cool experiment to see kind of how they looked. And you can just see, because there was actually like in there was a hole right in the center where the drill or the laser, I'm not sure. I think it was a laser. I think it was like it was a torch. Like a propane torch went right in and then it like swirled out. I think that's the way it works. My husband will tell me off for not listening to all this talk about work. So that's it. This one here is another part of another big tablecloth. Not tablecloth, placemat. And then so this lot here, the majority of the pile, is all the pages where I've got like virtually the full page of the one design, which I love, 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 love. And then I've got like, I love, even though I love the full page of the stencil, these little wee splatters are, I love even more. It's the imperfections, like here, that to me just make it even more beautiful. And this one here is another placemat. So look at those little wee blobbles that you just can't repeat at all. I know this is probably going to be a really long video of me just flipping through paper, but I just wanted to share how cool it is. And sometimes you do end up with like torn paper, and there was a couple of pages that actually like ripped in pieces, but I mean you can still use them. Thought I'd try this for like and getting an idea of it for like Halloween pages. These are like full pages of like damask, and then that's going the other way. It was, and I loved being like pulling out some of these really old TCW stencils and just having a play with them again. So now that was the first time I used that stencil, so there's no gold on that one there. And I love these like full page mandalas. So that's more of that placemat. Just looks so cool. Reminds me of a ball of wool. I loved how that turned out. Just gorgeous. This is a placemat. Look at that. Stunning. And look at that. I mean, I cannot get over, like with like one small exception, how crisp and clear this is. And some of these stencils really are just so amazingly clear. I mean, like the size of these dots, they're really small, yet so clear. And I think a lot of these are from my first attempt. I still like the wrinkles. This is when I was obviously not quite sure about my lining up of pages. Now, I think this was where I had the coffee with the rusty water mixed in, because it's got that almost like charcoaly, carbony type of look to it. So I have to do some like actual experiments on that. And that was kind of from an idea that I got from my Ephemera swap partner, Tanya. She suggested that I try it. Now, these two here, these are two different stencils, that TCW has, that's the Crafters Workshop, have released. One is the cutout, and then one is like the bit that's like left behind, like the negative space. And so I wanted to try them to see how they looked and see if there was one I preferred more than the other. And I do love this one, I think, but this one still looks quite cool. And I love like how clear this is. Oh, there's just so many of the, here we go. Now this was that first gold one. So you can just see that, and I love that. So I just sprayed on some of this Eyes Ink spray finish, and that was, I think it's just called OR 80807, and that was just, yeah, I like the second printing of it better, believe it or not. No idea how I got this second print. It might have been that a stencil in, so this was the original one, and then another stencil blew on top of it, and I didn't pick it up. Stunning. Love, 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 love. That's a placemat. There's that placemat again. Slight tear there, that's okay. That looks cool. That's that placemat. You can see like that's kind of the size of it there. So I mean it's pretty big really. And yeah, like I just loved, so like I loved all of these, so that's why I just kept using them again and again. And here's some more of where I've started experimenting with some of the brushos. And then you can see the now this wasn't those metal ones. These were like the little wee half round glass sort of stones that you used to put in floral arrangements and that type of thing. And I've got some of those that I had as decoration for a party, and then depending on which way up, whether they were flat side down or curved side down. So yeah. And there's like lots of overflow from the brushos. And I was particularly trying to make sure that I had patches where there was no coffee left. I mean, how this pattern worked out, I've got no idea. It kind of looks like almost like a shattering, but not. But I love the way way it looks. But don't ask me how I created it, because I have no idea whatsoever. And I love how crisp this is, but I also love the fact that there's bits that aren't as crisp. And that's all comes down to, I think, how well the stencil is stuck to the paper. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love this. This is like a lot of brusho on there. I think I used some green and some yellow on that one. I think that looked awesome. And I loved how crisp and clean this stencil was. Now this one was this was the second printing. And you can see some of the gold. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Where are we? I know there's some in here. Can you see it? Hopefully you can see it there. And there's some more there. So that was just some of that gold. So it's a lot more subtle on this. Now this one here I tried to use an orange and a yellow to make that look a lot more citrusy. But I love how dark it is. I must have used a lot of spray, I think, or darker spray to get into all the gaps. I think it was like a lot of spray to disperse all the brushos. So yeah, heavenly. And I mean, I don't mind that there's little bits of colour from everywhere. Okay, some of it got a little bit too intense, but meh, it is what it is. And that was a leftover bits of brusho and then just heaps of coffee on top. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so I don't know how I got all this like in between. I need to find out. Inquiring minds want to know. I mean, see, look how clear that is. It's beautiful. Right, there we go. We're at the end. Okay, now I don't have any filming of how these were done because it was out on my deck in wind, and because it depended on the weather of the day, I wasn't able to get cameras set up. And yeah, but if you really want me to try and film something, let me know and I will see what I can do. It will need to be fairly soon though, because the weather is going to start cooling down and I will not be able to be out on the deck for too much longer. Well, probably a month or so. Anyway, I hope that has got some inspiration for you, maybe some ideas. It's given me a lot of ideas and lots of things that I want to try. Let's have a look at that, because that's just beautiful. And yeah, so many things I want to I wish I'd started it sooner in the summer. I wish I'd thought to go out there and brave the sun. But anyway, there we go. I had fun. I hope it inspires you to get a little bit messy. I have got some ideas for other different projects and techniques to give a go throughout this month, because I do want to inspire you to pull out some of the messy stuff, like some of the products that need a lot of water that you've maybe put in the back cupboards because they are messy. Let's give it a go. Let's create a whole lot of things that we can then use to make ephemera and make journals and just create with. Let's build up our stashes of materials, bits and pieces. Okay, I will leave you there. I'll stop warbling and I will see you back in the studio. Bye for now.